Hello, everyone. We hope you're having a great day today. Welcome to today's webinar, our first for ILTACON 2025, all about the booth lottery. Just a quick reminder, we are recording this webinar and we'll post it to the informational webinar page within about 24 hours, along with a copy of the slide deck. Also, remember to use the chat or the Q&A box for your questions. Now I'll turn it over to Tyler Howes to get us started.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking the time from your busy schedule today. The good news is I don't think we're going to need the entire hour. We will dedicate some time here at the end, as we did on the last webinar, to address any questions that you may have. On today's webinar, we'll do some intros. We'll talk about some dates, and then more importantly, we're going to talk about the booth lottery itself. We also want to address some speaking opportunities because we are getting questions about that. And we do have important reminders. And those primarily are going to focus on housing and also the affiliate space form and process. Again, those are generating quite a few questions, so we'd like to get those addressed up front. And then also, before I forget, Ashley and I will be in New York next week. I assume many of you will be as well. We will be available on Monday if you want to arrange a time to meet. If you have any follow-up questions, we're happy to do that while we're there in person. Let's go to the next slide, please. I think you all know most of the business partner team, including myself, Ashley, Sharon, and Courtney. I think you've all worked with one of them at one point in time. I also want to introduce you to the events team as well. Dawn, Hudgens, and Jessica, Tracy, and Melissa. I do want to point out that Jessica will be the lead person on the housing this year. I think many of you worked with her last year. And then Melissa will be working with you on the affiliate space requests once we get the forms in-house and those decisions have been finalized. Next, please. Some key dates that are coming up. Obviously, we're on the booth lottery call at this point in time. The booth lottery itself will be on the 28th. Just to be clear, that on that particular webinar, we're only going to go through and set the lottery numbers. There will be no selections made on that call. Ashley, a little later in this webinar, will go through the selection process and how those meetings will be set up, and we'll provide you more detail at that point in time. And then on April 9th, we'll have our traditional first-time business partners webinar. And then the all-important webinar on the 16th, where we'll take a deeper dive into the housing, badgings, and exhibitor portal. We are working on a new portal this year, which will, based on feedback we received in prior years, which hopefully will pull all our information together, which will include dates, forms, and Q&A, and any other things you may need in order to plan for ILTACON this year. On May 7th, we'll discuss event space, the service kit, and booth orders. And then finally, on the 23rd of July, we'll have what to expect webinar as well, which is more of a traditional program that we do each year. So the booth lottery itself, I wanted to sort of go through how the lottery works. This is a kind of a redo of last year, but nothing's changed here, but I think it's important to kind of review this each year. The key date here is the April 2nd through the 25th. That's when we'll actually be holding a series of meetings where you actually make your selections, and that includes your booth and also any sponsorship signage that you would want to acquire at ILTACON. Next, please. Back in 2023, again, based on some feedback from our partners, we did add a new criteria to the lottery process itself. And what we did there, and essentially, I should say why we did it. It really was designed to reward, as mentioned here on the slide, support over the years from our ILTA business partners. What we've done is we've created 4 new categories. those are actually based on your years of corporate sponsorship. Category 1 would be the highest. And again, as I mentioned, we're attempting here to really acknowledge, longevity. And when we went through this process, we wanted to make sure that was fair. So that was naturally taken into account. On the next slide, we'll actually show, again, the factors that we considered. Again, we went back to 2016 and did our computation from that point in time. And then each year, a partner was a active business partner, regardless of level. That counted towards your category calculation. And again, those years did not really need to be consecutive. Next, please. So the lottery levels themselves based on those criteria. So 6+ years as an active business partner, again, dating back to 2016, your category 1, 4 to 5 years, category 2, 3, category 3 would be 2 to 3 years, and new partners would be in category 4. Now, how does all sort of come together? So when we actually go ahead and set the order of selection for your booth and your sponsorships, we first look at the sponsorship level, ILTA, and then we follow this series of sponsorships, which would be ILTA Max, Titanium, Platinum, Gold, Silver, and the Step Up. The Step Up is new. What that category is essentially would be any partner that was in the startup hub last year, and they came on board as an active business partner, they would be in the Step Up category. And then we also added the Titanium into this list as well, that being a new level here in 2025. And then once you're in that particular sponsorship level, then we do apply the category, again, 1 through 4. And then once the category is applied, the lottery number becomes controlling. And again, we'll establish that lottery number on the 28th. Next, please. Now, what I'd like to do is I'm going to turn this over to Sharon and have her go through and talk a little bit about some other key dates. Sharon? I'm sorry, Ashley. I'm sorry, Ashley.
All good. Thanks, Tyler.
We'll surprise Sharon there.
Hi,
Go ahead,
everyone. Yep. Once the booth lottery has concluded, our team will determine the final selection order based upon the sponsorship tier, the category within the sponsorship, and the lottery number from the randomization. We will then send out an email recapping the booth lottery and your selection spot. As previously mentioned, we will create the schedule of calls based upon the final order. Please note that we have over 150 sponsors participating in the lottery. We are slated to begin the calls on Wednesday, April 2nd, and hopefully conclude by Friday, April 25th. Since we are following the selection order, we will not have the flexibility to switch each appointment. We will send out the Zoom link for you to join. Please share with anyone you feel may benefit from being on the call, or who may be able to assist in your absence should you have a conflict. Prior to your call, we suggest reviewing the live floor plan with your team. This floor plan is updated in real time as booth selections are occurring. We recommend having a few top choices in the event that your top selection is not available at the time of your call. As previously mentioned, additional sponsorship opportunities can be secured during this call as well. All additional sponsorship opportunities will be subject to availability. For this purpose, we advise having your budget laid out and various opportunities selected in order of preference should you need to pivot during the call. Once the call has concluded, our team will send a recap email of your selections and, if applicable, an invoice for any additional items selected on your booth allotment. Next slide. Speaking about the exhibit hall floor plan, Sharon, can you tell me a little bit more about what we're seeing?
Sure, Ashley. The Prince George Exhibit Hall is on the lower atrium level, Gaylord National. Just keep in mind that there is only one entry and exit point that is located in the front of the exhibit hall. We have more exits than the entry point. We're going to have security positioned at the 2 sets of entry doors in areas B and C, which you can see on the floor plan marked entrance and exit. All remaining doors to the exhibit hall will be used for exit only and will remain closed. I also wanted to point out this year the Startup Hub location will be on the left side of the exhibit hall towards the front. And similar to past years, we anticipate having roughly 20 to 25 participants in the program, but are able to accommodate up to 30 if needed. If you know of any startups that might be interested in the program, let them know that the applications will open this Friday and remain open until April 21st. Ashley, do you want to share some more information about the exhibit hall?
Thanks, Sharon. Yes, so on the floor plan we see here, we have over 300 10 by 10 booth spaces with a few scattered 20 by 20 booths. Some helpful information when selecting your booth. Keep in mind that ILTA sponsors have a 20 by 20 booth space with the eligibility to purchase additional booth space for an increased booth size. Our titanium and platinum sponsors have a 10 by 20 booth space with the option to purchase additional space as well. Our gold partners have a 10 by 10 booth space, but can increase their booth space to a 10 by 20 for an additional cost. Our silver sponsors have a 10 by 10 booth space and do not have the option to increase their size. We do have the exhibit, or we do have the cafe and the exhibit hall this year. It is over to the right side of the exhibit hall. So this will draw traffic from the entrance over to the right. Also, we do have 2 lounges placed in the exhibit hall. These lounges will have branding opportunities and details will be forthcoming. And I will now kick this over to Dawn if she has anything further to share about the exhibit hall or speaking opportunities.
Well, I do want to just point out regarding the exhibit hall that area B and C where it says entrance and exit to the cafe, that is the only way into the cafe. So just keep that in mind that people do have to come in and head to the right when you're making your selections. All right, some important speaking opportunities. There are so many different ways that you guys can speak at ILTACON. Obviously, you can do master classes and company updates. I know many of you have done this throughout the years, and so that is still available this year. You can sponsor keynotes, and when you sponsor the keynotes, you actually have an opportunity to speak before the keynote speaker begins, and you get to talk a little bit about your company. And then we have opportunities in your demo rooms. If you've been around ILTACON for a long time, you know that years ago, we put parameters around the times that you could actually do speaking events within your demo rooms. That is no longer. We haven't done that for a couple of years. So you're able to do that and you're able to promote that if you're having those types of events in your demo room. But if you want to speak at ILTACON, I do want to bring to your attention that it does close March 29th, and that is just around the corner. So please make sure that you go out and apply to speak if you are wanting to do that. If we go to the next slide, we have some great information on how to make your application stand out in a positive way. So make sure that you apply before the deadline. So if you're going to do that, you need to, you got 10 days. So you need to jump on that. Do fill out the extra credit and the link attachments. This actually sets you apart from other people who have submitted for those speaking opportunities. And I do apologize for my dog. It's the time for the postman. I do apologize for that. Answer it as if you are the subject matter expert. For example, we do notice that sometimes when people are submitting these speaker applications, that they get the marketing department to fill that out on their behalf. Well, I'm going to tell you, that's not the best way to do it because it is very easy to see the difference in how that is being answered, whether it's from someone who is truly doing it from a thought leadership perspective and then someone who's doing it from a marketing sales perspective. So keep that in mind. Do remember that it is an educational session. And so we want that thought leadership to be brought in there. You guys are experts in so many areas. Be prepared to share ideas on how to make the session different, engaging. That is also a great way to set your application apart. And then do follow up with your coordinator after the interview. So I do hope you guys will find some great ways to share your knowledge at ILTACON. We have these 4 great opportunities, 5 really, opportunities for you to do so. So please take a look at that. And remember that speaker applications close March 29th. So here are a few important reminders. Housing and registration launches on April 16th. So keep that in mind. All the housing this year will be managed by the ILTA events team. This will help us allocate rooms a lot easier than we've done in the past. And so one of the things that we do have to do this year, because the Gaylord National is a little smaller than we were at Opryland, is that each tier of sponsorship will be allocated a certain number of rooms to be on site at the host hotel. So if you are ILTA Max, you will have 16 rooms. Titanium will have 12. Platinum will have 8. Gold will have 6. And silver will have 4. This doesn't mean that those are all the rooms that you can have on in the harbor alone. But do remember that any of your badges that you're expecting to have a room for, these need to be paid and purchased before additional rooms can be allocated. So in the harbor area, we have 6 additional hotels where we will be working to place the rest of your teams in those areas. I will say that 2 or 3 of those hotels, even though they're not the Gaylord National, it's actually closer to walk from those hotels to the convention center area than if you are in some parts of the Gaylord National Hotel. So know that too. I know a lot of you are wanting to do some cool events on site. And so we do have space request forms that will be made available to you to fill out. Those will be made available to you after the booth lottery. And we'll start reviewing those on April 18th. So you can also take a look at some space at some of our partner hotels. Now, keep in mind, there are a few that we're working with directly. So the Gaylord National, the Residence Inn, and the Westin, although they have some additional space that is available for purchase or for rent, that has to come through us. All of the other hotels, you can work with them on the space that they have within their hotels. And several of them actually have, several meeting space areas that you could take advantage of, but you can work with them. And I do want to mention also, if you are doing any type of event at any place or at any time during ILTACON, the times listed on these slides and these dates, we're asking you not to host events that cross over these, because these are key anchor points for us for the conference. So please make sure that you avoid these times and these dates for hosting any type of activity. We do have a webinar scheduled for April 16th for more details on all of this. So I do hope that you guys will join us for that. Here are some of our partner hotels. Obviously, we have the Gaylord National, that's where we're hosting the conference. There's also the AC Hotel, which is just a couple of blocks from National Harbor. The Hampton Inn, which is located directly across the street from the Gaylord National. And the Harborside Hotel, which is located near the Topgolf. So it's not far, but it is farther than these other hotels. There's the Hyatt Place National Harbor. We have the MGM National Harbor, Residence Inn, which is also directly across the street from the Gaylord National, and the Westin National Harbor, which is located very close to the convention center portion of the Gaylord National. Any questions?
I'd like to bring a question out from the chat. There was a question about, I'd like to direct to the business partner team. Is the cost to expand booth space included in the prospectus?
I can address that. The answer is no. However, what we can do, or I can give you some pricing at this point in time, if you are a gold sponsor and you have a 10 by 10 booth, you wish to upgrade to a 10 by 20, the fee is $10,000 for the additional space. If you are a platinum sponsor and have a 10 by 20, or a titanium sponsor and have a 10 by 20, you want to go to a 20 by 20, it's $7,500 per 100 square feet, if that helps. So, and the other thing I wanted to point out as well is that you don't necessarily have to make that decision at this point in time whether you want to increase your space. When at the time of your selection call, we can have that discussion and work through the pricing at that point in time. So there's nothing at this stage that you need to do other than just maybe consider what you would like to do from a design standpoint.
So Tracy, could we go back to slide 15? So there's a couple of questions in, oh, well, go back one more than that. That one, yeah. So there's a couple of questions in the chat. Will there be room blocks at the sponsor hotels? Absolutely. You can request additional housing for a sub block. Those forms and that information will be available after the booth lottery. Additional badges must be purchased and paid for, though before those additional rooms will be allocated. Additionally, on this slide, we kind of point out, and I know it's kind of small, but under point 2, you can see all event space at the Gaylord, Residence Inn, and Westin are being held by ILTA. So if you want any of that additional space, you can work with us on that. All of the other hotels that are listed in the following 2 slides that are not the Gaylord National, Residence Inn, or Westin, you can work with those hotels directly.
Thanks, Dawn. I think most of the questions were, let's see if I can go back. Oh, there's one more question. To clarify, do you need to be a sponsor to enter the booth lottery? And sponsor levels, ILTA Max, Titanium, Platinum, Gold, and Step Up with a question mark. So that sounds like a question about the lottery and the eligibility to participate in it. Tyler or business partner team, could you handle that one?
The answer is yes. You need to be an active business partner, silver or higher, to participate in the booth lottery.
And there's a question, could you review key dates again? All right, so those are on the screen. And I see one question also in the chat. Will we receive information on our booth lottery ranking in regard to years sponsored?
I'll field this one. Yes, the business partner team will be sending out a recap of where your of which category you fall within. We do take into account there have been some acquisitions and everything like that. So if you have any questions about where you feel that your category should be and how we determined it, please don't hesitate to reach out. But yes, we will be reaching out to confirm your category level.
Thanks, Ashley. And I see a question, let's see, are being answered in the chat, mostly about things that are in the prospectus, space request dates, and some additional questions about booth lottery number. Could we go back to the slide about booth lottery? Tyler, could you just give us one more quick overview on how the lottery is going to work with a reminder of the actual date as well?
Let's stick with the slide right here. So the first thing we look at is the actual sponsorship level. So ILTA Max will go before Titanium, Titanium before Platinum, and so forth. Once we look, let's take ILTA Max as an example. Once we're looking at ILTA Max, the next thing we do is apply the category level. Category 1 will come before 2 and 2 before 3. And again, category 1 would be those partners who have been an active business partner at least 6 times dating back to 2016. The reason we don't go back further than that is that we just don't have reliable data. I do get questions saying, look, I've been a partner in 2010, 29 or whatever, or 2009 or whatever, but we just don't have data to make an accurate estimate. And that's why we start with 2016. Once we apply the category level, then the lottery number itself becomes controlling. So it goes level, category, and then lottery number. Hopefully that answers your question. And again, the lottery number itself will be determined on the webinar that we hold on the 28th of this month.
So just to piggyback off of Tyler for further clarity regarding the lottery number, we use a randomization website and we enter all the various, we'll have different tabs, one for the ILTA Max, one for the titanium, platinum, gold, silver. Each of them will have their own, and that's how we determine the lottery number. So just want to provide a little bit more clarity on that point.
Thank you, Ashley. I am not seeing any other questions in the chat or in the Q&A, so I'm going to take this opportunity to wrap this webinar up and hope that you join us at the webinar on March 28th. Just as a reminder, we are recording and will post a link to the recording and to the webinar deck on our informational webinars page within about 24 hours. Thank you so much, and everybody have a great day.